Hey, everyone, for this prayer, all of you should also pray along. The prayer is meant for both the teacher and the students. So I pray, but I don't know how many of you all pray. And it is important because these kind of small acts help you to develop the devotion towards the subject. If it is not essential, I wouldn't introduce it. So the least you can do is just close your eyes. uh, Even if you can't fold your hand, just close your eyes and try and chant it as much as possible. That's why you put the wordings there. By now, I think most of you all would be familiar with it. You know it, So then it's useful as a group. We do it. Of course, keep yourself muted because it becomes very disturbing if everyone starts chanting and you hear others. It's disturbing. I hope my chanting is not disturbing, you know. So, okay, everyone, let's chant together. Om. Om. Sorry, just mute everyone. Somebody's not followed that advice. Okay. Om. Om. Sahana Vavatu. Sahano Bhunaktu. Sah Viryam Karavavahai. Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 29 to 33.
द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपो यज्ञाः योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम् प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजः यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम् नायं लोकोऽस्य यज्ञस्य कुतोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तम एवं बहुविधा यज्ञाः वितता ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान्विद्धितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे.
Is it 29 to 33? I think you got it slightly mixed up. It's okay. So last week we were looking at the different types of giving. So what is important to understand is any form of giving is better than taking. So first of all, we need to establish that giving in any form, in any manner, is better than taking. So giving is superior to taking, no matter what you give. Now, the focus in this 28th verse is that they are expanding your understanding of giving. The general understanding of giving is very narrow in the world. People don't understand what giving is. Very narrow. See, there are two types of people you'll find in the world. one type of people don't give. Self-centered persons don't give. A minority of people give. And the minority of people who give, they give impulsively, they give emotionally. Hardly there's any thought as to what is it that I'm giving? How is it going to be useful? See, the main factor to consider when it comes to giving is understanding the consequences of your gift. So it is not what you give that matters, it's how you give. So, what is the consequences of your giving? See, for example, a person who's a drug addict, you give him money, the fellow is going to use it to buy more drugs. So, you need to ask yourself, is that the right way of giving to that person? Yes, you want to give, you want to help. But what is the consequences? How will this giving of mine be utilized? Is it going to be detrimental to the other person or not? So, person who is self-centered, you keep on giving. See, parents give too much to the children. They spoil the children many times because the children can't take it. You keep giving, giving, giving to a selfish person. You spoil that person. So you've got to examine what is it that you're doing. And that's why the role of the intellect is very important in giving. So giving is an emotion, is a feeling. It has to be directed by the intellect. Hardly anybody understands it that way and nobody practices it. It's all impulsive, it's just emotional. So, first of all, what you understand is that there are different grades of giving, what we call as subtler forms of giving. See, whenever we use the word subtle in the Vedantic philosophy, subtle means more pervasive. So, subtler the giving, the greater is its impact, the greater is its reach. Grosser giving, the impact is less. Subtler you give, the impact is more. So, the four types of giving that were given, the fourth one we studied and said that that's the highest, the fourth type of giving. And what is that fourth type of giving? Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, the sacrifice of study and wisdom, self study. Not only is giving that as a fourth type, he says this fourth type is superior to the other three. So the grossest is giving of wealth, material giving. Subtler than that is physical giving. Subtler than physical giving is emotional and intellectual giving. So those are the three types: material, physical, emotional, intellectual. And then the fourth one is on top of all this. So I did say that I'll answer the question in today's class: why is the fourth type of giving superior to the other three? If you understand this, you will understand what giving is. So the difference is the fourth type of giving, the sacrifice of study and wisdom, is introverted service. Whereas the other three, material, physical, emotional, intellectual, are all extroverted service. That's why it's easy to conceive material service. You don't need much explanation. You understand immediately what is material giving. Physical giving, you understand. Emotional, intellectual giving, also you'll understand. It's not difficult. But this fourth one is difficult because it's not extroverted service. You're not directly giving anything to anyone. It's introverted. It's directed within. It's not directed outside. You're not going around helping people, you see, in that sense. Whereas in the first three, you're actively helping others. So see the difference first on the screen. The difference between introverted and extroverted service. And then I'll explain further. So the three categories will fit under the extroverted service, the first three. And the fourth one falls under introverted service. You're giving wealth, you're giving austerity, you're giving yoga. Yoga means emotions and thoughts. You're giving all that to others, to help others. And in the introverted service, what are you doing? Study and wisdom. You're learning, you're developing yourself. Sacrifice of study and wisdom means spiritual development. That's what it means. You're developing yourself spiritually. Now, what happens is that generally in life, if you were to examine life, there's a lot of activity that happens in life. All the extroverted activity that happens would not be possible without introverted effort. You examine any field, it could be medicine, it could be law, it could be engineering, any field you examine, without introverted study, they cannot be extroverted actions. How many of you all know who is the Nobel Prize winner for physics? Hmm? Who is the Nobel Prize winner for chemistry? Nobody knows. You understand? I also don't know. Don't ask me. You understand? So we don't know who these great scientists are. They're given every year. They're given these awards. They do extraordinary research. You don't know what research they're doing, but it is as a result of that research you get the different gadgets, the different equipments in the world. So whatever you're using, the cars, the homes, and everything, where does it come from? Somebody has done research in the past. So you go to a stadium to watch a match, you go to a cathedral to pray. Those stadiums and cathedrals, where did they start? They started with a thought. It came from thought. So it is that introverted thought which expresses as an extroverted action. So extroverted actions are not possible without introverted study. Somebody needs to put in that introverted effort for that extroverted actions to come. Same principle happens in the spiritual field as well. So in the spiritual field, what really makes you grow is your introverted effort. Who wrote these Vedas? Who wrote the Bhagavad Gita? You understand? Nobody knows. They've given some names. We don't know who Vyasa is. You understand? They say Vyasa is written. Nobody knows who Vyasa is. So great sages have written this. Nobody knows who they are. Especially the Upanishads, you go, nobody knows the author of many of the Upanishads. Highest knowledge, highest literature. So what they did was they went to the forest, they went to the jungles, and they contemplated and they brought out this literature. And that literature helps millions for years and years, decades and decades. So that introverted effort is helping people extrovertedly for lifetimes. Swami Chinmayananda, many of you all would be familiar with. he used to give the story. And he started his spiritual journey when he went to the Himalayas. He was a journalist. So he went to the Himalayas to interview some swamis. You understand? And then he got interested in the knowledge that way. And then he left everything and he stayed in the Himalayas to learn. And he learned under Tapon Maharaj. He first went to Swami Sivananda, and Sivananda sent him to Tapon Maharaj. Tapon Maharaj, at the age of 13, he left home, went to the Himalayas, he never came down. Rest of his life, he was only in the Himalayas. So Chinmananji, went to Tapon Maharaj and asked for his advice. And Tapon Maharaj was teaching him. He told him, stay here and learn. So he stayed there and learned under Tapon Maharaj. And he learned a lot from the Swami. After a few years, Chinmananji told him, Sir, I want to go and teach in the world. And I will go there, I'll organize, and I'll invite you to come and lecture. To which Tapon Maharaj said, don't waste your time, sit and study. 2, 3 times he told him. Afterwards, he couldn't take that pressure. He said, no, no, Swami, I want to go. So then Tapon Maharaj said, okay, fine, go. He said, no, no, I'll organize for you. He said, no, no, I'm not going to come. You do your good work. Leave me. I'm here. You understand? So then Chinmayanji went down and then he did whatever he did. Everyone knows extraordinary work, and he was teaching people all over the world and trained so many people. Then later in life, he was referring to Tapon Maharaj. He said, you see the greatness of my guru. Everybody is asking, what is great? What is great? He said, he told me not to leave. I should have followed that advice. He said, because he sat there in the Himalayas and he produced Chinmayananda, because Chinmayanji went all the way and learned. He said he sat there, he didn't come down. He sat there and he produced one Chinmayananda. For the last 40 years, I've been teaching. Chinmayanji was saying, the last 40 years I've been teaching. I have not managed to produce even one Chinmayananda. I don't think I'll be able to produce one Chinmayananda. But he said, look at the greatness of my guru. He sat there and he's produced. So this is introverted service. You understand? There's no better example to give. The best example, you'll remember this. So these great masters, what they did, they never came down into the world, but they know that knowledge will go into the world. It'll spread. They know it. But they had to make that introverted effort. It's not easy to make that introverted effort. So that's what is study and wisdom. Sacrifice of study and wisdom is you invest in your development. Follow the example of the lakes. See, any city, where does it get its water from? It gets the water from the lakes. Freshwater lakes is what provides the water to any city. Now, what do the lakes do? The lakes just collect water. That's all. Nothing else the lake does. It just keeps collecting water. The lake does not advertise. It doesn't say, oh, I'm full now. It doesn't say. But we go and take the water from the lakes. No lake in the world is spared. They don't advertise. The lakes don't advertise. They just fill water. Similarly, what is your business in life is to just fill yourself up. Fill yourself up with knowledge. Learn, study. I remember a person came and asked, I want to start a blog, that fellow said. I said, okay, title as ignorant blog. The name of the blog, I said, make it title as ignorance blog. I said, what are you going to write in that blog? You know nothing of the subject and you want to write a blog, you want to spread your ignorance. Then he said, no, I understand. I said, just come, you learn, that's all. Why do you want to start all these things? Before learning what you're spreading, you don't even know what you're spreading. First of all, consolidate the knowledge. So everybody's interested in that extroverted activity, but you miss a crucial step, which is introverted study, because people are not patient. So people come and say, I want to practice this knowledge. I want to practice this knowledge. How can you practice this knowledge? You got to first internalize it. So unless you internalize it, you can't externalize it. So external actions will come only when you internalize it. You make it your own. So study and wisdom. Learn, learn, full stop, nothing else. Automatically, people will come and take help from you. And I'm telling you from experience. You don't have to tell anybody. They will come, they will take help from you. So it's not, see, apparently it looks selfish. You understand? Apparently, the fourth type of giving seems to be selfish because you're sitting and studying. That's all you're doing. But it's not selfish, it's far from selfish. It's the highest form of giving. You're ready to give yourself, but you're following a methodic process. So through self-study and wisdom, you get rid of the ignorance of the self. When you get rid of the ignorance of the self, you gain the knowledge of the self. You realize the self, you uncover the self. And when you uncover the self, you give the self to others. You pass on the self to others. It's like money. To give money, you need to have money. Similarly, to give the self, you need to have the self. So you've got to uncover the self. How do you uncover the self? It's through study and wisdom. So, what is the best service you can do to people is to give them the self. By giving wealth, is only limited help you're giving. There are people who have plenty of money but have mental health problems. So, what is the point of only giving money? So, if you give the mind and intellect, it helps, no doubt. But still, they don't find that fulfillment because they've not discovered the self. So, when you give the self to them, they are totally contented, totally satisfied. They don't want anything else. But to give the self, you need to get the self. So that's what. So fourth type of giving is you're giving the self, as it were. By uncovering the self, you're giving the self. Others may not be able to receive it, but you're giving it. If you uncover it, you give the self. You inspire them to follow that direction, to follow that path. So greater effort is needed for introverted service. That's why if you go back to the verse, it says, yet others again offer wealth as sacrifice, austerity as sacrifice, yoga as sacrifice, and ascetics of rigid vows offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. You understand? So he says ascetics of rigid vows for the fourth type of service. Means there's a lot of effort involved in it. So if you take 100 people, if you get one person doing introverted service, it's a big number. It's a big proportion. Out of 100, one person does introverted service. It's a big number. So it's not easy to find introverted service. Now, we have maintained the offering and kindling. Now, in this, what is offering and what is kindling? So, Yajna 6, which is the Yajna of wealth, we're still on verse 28. So, Yajna 6. Yajna number 6 is Yajna of wealth. You're offering your wealth, you're giving your wealth, you're kindling others' wealth. You're giving your wealth, you're kindling others' wealth. So donor's wealth is offered, recipient's wealth is kindled. This is simple. This is not difficult to understand. Then the next one, Yajna of austerity. Number 7, Yajna 7. What are you offering? You're offering your body. You're offering your time and energy. Everything related to the body, offering your body. What you're kindling is others' material or physical benefit. You're helping others, giving them material and physical benefit. You're kindling that. And then the 8th yajna, yajna of yoga. You're offering emotional and intellectual service, and you're kindling others' spiritual evolution. You're directing them to higher thoughts, higher knowledge. And the last one, yajna 9, yajna of self-knowledge, yajna of study and wisdom. What are you offering? You're offering ignorance. What are you kindling? Kindling knowledge of the self. The whole thing is internal. You understand? Your ignorance you're offering, and knowledge of the self you're kindling. So let's see that on the screen. First, number 6 and 7. You see there. Number 6, offering donors wealth, kindling recipients' wealth. So that is a yajna, it's a form of yajna when you give material wealth. Then physically you're helping people, that also becomes a yajna. You're offering your body, you're kindling others' physical or material benefit. It's clear? And then the next one, 8 and 9, yajna of yoga, offering emotional or intellectual service, kindling others' spiritual evolution. And 9th is offering ignorance, kindling knowledge of the self. See, when you have a heavy meal, you need time to digest. You sit and digest. It's like that. A heavy knowledge, you need time to digest it. That's why I'm quiet, giving you some time to digest. Utsha.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Yeah.
Bhaskarji, you mentioned that the previous verses were based on receipt and reaction, and from verse 28 was based on response.
Mm-hmm.
So could you explain how verse 28 is associated to response?
A response, that's a response, giving back to
Giving.
all this is giving, isn't it? Giving is responding back to the world.
Okay.
Response means what? Response is action, giving back in some form.
Okay. I understand now. Yeah, thank you.
That's what is interesting. See, the last one, you're not apparently it seems you're not giving because you're studying and gaining wisdom. But if you analyze it deeply, you realize, my God, you're actually giving more than the other things in that last one. See, even with reference to the world, the two things you need to understand, again, when we're talking about giving, it's a difference between social service and social consciousness. So, social service is extroverted giving, social consciousness is introverted giving. So, generally, what you find people doing in the world is they give social service. You go and help children in orphanages. You go and donate to people who are in earthquake hit regions. So all that is social service, your community service, you're helping out, which is important, which is essential. But mere social service will not help the world. That's why you find today there's so many charities, so many foundations. Nothing happens. Things are as worse as they are because there is lack of social consciousness. Unless social consciousness is spread, there won't be improvement in the world. So, see what these two terms are. First of all, social service is different from social consciousness. Like I said, social service is extroverted, social consciousness is introverted. So, why do people do social service? Is because it makes them feel good. It caters to their emotions. So, in the case of social service, you're not understanding the consequences of your giving. You're just giving out of an emotion. Whereas in the case of social consciousness, you identify with the world, you identify with what others' needs are. Again, if you give an example, you'll understand it. See, there was a family who used to invite me for some talks, and they used to bring a group of their friends over, and they invited me to conduct. This is all pre-COVID, and a very wealthy family in central London, and they used to bring a very distinguished group of people. I used to talk to them once in a while. They used to organize. So a few times I went to their house, and they're very hospitable, they're very friendly, and all that. And then there were other people who were helping them in the house, the housekeepers. There was a cook, there was a maid. They had support staff in the house. It's a huge house. And they also used to come and talk to me, at the end and all that. I used to inquire about them and all that. So this family, they used to give a lot to charities, and they used to attend these big charity balls in Dorchester, in Grosvenor House, huge charity balls, and they'll give you huge amounts, all that. Then the people who are working for them, so they used to come and talk to me. They say, "Sir, we're struggling." I said, "What happened? What are you struggling? We're not being paid properly. Can you please talk to them?" I said, "Listen, how can I talk to them? I am also in your own category. You understand? So I also don't have anything. I've simply come because they invited me. Same category as you also I am. So what can I ask them?" They said, "No, no, sir, don't joke, don't please you. They respect you, whatever." I said, "Listen, I don't get into all this. Anyway, I didn't get into all this. That's not my business. I come there for." So they used to complain that they're not taken care of. And what does this family do? They go and give money to charities. You understand? This is the difference I'm talking about. So social service they are doing, there's no social consciousness. They are not even aware of the suffering of people who are helping them. Their own household, they are there, people who are helping them, they're not even aware of what their needs are. So social consciousness is not there in the world today. So social service is being done without social consciousness. How can it help? It is only boosting that ego that I'm giving. It is making you feel good. I'm doing something. But what are you doing? What is its impact on the world? So, what is social consciousness? Social consciousness means, first of all, an awareness of others' needs. See, like I gave the example, a person can have plenty of wealth, but he needs help for mental health. His mind is in a terrible condition. So you need to identify. A fellow has a lot of money, but he doesn't have control over his mind. He's in a terrible state mentally. How can I help? So it doesn't matter whether a person is poor or rich, doesn't matter what background that person is. You identify with what their needs are. How can I help? So if you look at it like that, everybody in the world needs help. Everybody without exception need help. So you're not able to see it because you don't identify. If you identify, you will see it. So social consciousness is a sense of universal identification. Otherwise, you're identifying with only a small pocket of people. See, suppose your mother had cancer and she was treated, looked after very well. What do? Then you start supporting cancer charity. You understand? So you're only looking at that in a very narrow way because you've received help from there and therefore you're doing it. So that is social service. Social consciousness is to not only understand that, you understand it in a bigger picture. Everybody needs help. So social consciousness is that spirit of sharing. Again, not just with a narrow group of people, but a general spirit of sharing. My family, my wife, my husband, my children. That's it. That's where everything stops. It doesn't spread beyond that. Swami Ramatita makes a brilliant statement. He says, your family should be the center of your affection, not the boundary of your affection. Your family should be the center of your affection, not the boundary of your affection. Today, it's become the boundary of affection. Everything is within the family. The person can't see anything beyond family. Maximum community. That's all. Beyond community, they can't see. So, social consciousness is to bring that change from within yourself, to expand your identification, to reduce your selfishness. And when you do that, you will help in a different way. The way you will help will be totally different. So, see the meaning of social consciousness, awareness of others' needs. So, everyone needs, animals have needs. Do we identify with animals? Do you identify with different human beings in the world? Then a sense of universal identification, not just restricted to one group, and the spirit of sharing. Whatever we have, we share. No, no, when I get more, then I will give. You'll never give. You understand? So if you have that thought, I remember a couple of people in the past said, I want to give, oh, I'll get more, then I'll give. I said, no, whatever you can give, you give. Because you've got to develop the spirit of sharing. Whatever we have, we share it. So that's the fourth type of giving. The fourth type of giving is social consciousness. You begin to see what people really need in the world. Your understanding of what the world needs becomes broader. That's why prime ministers, presidents, they need to learn this knowledge. You understand? They need to expand their understanding of what the world needs. People who are in high positions, they need to know this. Is that clear? Any questions? Okay, let's move on to verse 29.
अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम् प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम् प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः.
Yet others offer as sacrifice prana, outgoing breath, into apana, incoming breath. Let's show them the translation. The verse. Yet others offer as sacrifice prana, incoming breath, into apana, outgoing breath, and apana into prana. Prana into apana, apana into prana. Restraining the courses of prana and apana, some are absorbed in pranayama. Pranayama is control of breathing, breath control. So two more yajnas are given in this verse. So yajna number 10 is the yajna of intake and output. See, they're giving the example of breathing, but it applies to all actions. So in breathing, what is happening? There is inhalation. You inhale the breath. You can't keep inhaling indefinitely. How long can you inhale? After a while, you have to stop inhalation and then exhalation starts. There is first inhalation, then exhalation. You can't keep exhaling indefinitely. After a while, you have to stop, then again you have to start inhalation. So this is what they're saying, convert this into a yajna. Inhalation, exhalation, exhalation, inhalation. Prana, apana, apana, prana. Again, it's not, you don't need to restrict it only to breathing. It all types of intake. For example, you're taking in food. Say, when can you eat food? Huh? When can you eat food? Only when you're hungry. You understand? So first of all, your stomach should be clear. So first, excretion. Only then you can take in food. The stomach is full. What? How can you eat? You can't eat. You'll be constipated. So you need to clear first. So when excretion happens, then there is an intake of food. Similarly, knowledge. To take in knowledge, to take in new ideas, you've got to get rid of the old ideas. If the old ideas are there, it will stop the new ideas from coming in. You have to clear out the old ideas, make space for the new ideas to come in. Like in the wardrobe, you buy new clothes, there's no way to put the new clothes. You got to get rid of the old clothes to fit in the new clothes. So this is a yajna. So you're taking in, giving out. So you're offering inhalation, kindling exhalation, and then you offer exhalation and kindle inhalation. Prana and apana. Prana, outgoing breath, apana, incoming breath. Then the 11th yajna. What is the 11th yajna? 11th yajna is the yajna of inner strength. So, see, in other words, you take in, there's intake, there's output, there's intake and output, it's going on constantly. But if you don't control that, if you don't restrain that, you just indulge in it. See, suppose a person keeps taking knowledge and knowledge and knowledge, keeps reading without any control. What happens? It's not consolidated, it's not digested. A fellow just keeps on talking about the knowledge the whole day. What we call as a verbal diarrhea. He has a verbal diarrhea. So you've got to regulate knowledge. That is pranayama. Pranayama is regulating the breathing. So your inhalation and exhalation are equalized when you do pranayama. So it's good for the breathing system. It's good for the inner body, pranayama. Same principle you could apply in other actions as well. Regulate knowledge, regulate emotions. Too much emotions you give, it is not healthy in the relationship. You got to regulate how much to give, how much not to give. Darling, I love you. Anything. After half an hour, darling, I love you. Hey, you already told me half an hour. I don't know. I just thought I'll give love. Again, another half an hour later, the other fellow will scream, he'll scream. Can you just stop it? So you keep, it's nice emotions you're giving will become suffocating for the other person. You got to regulate it. How much to give so that it's fresh. When you give it, it should be fresh. It should be taken in the right spirit. Typically, in the Indian couples, they don't give, they don't show the love at all. That is another extreme. You understand? Western couples, too much of expression. Indian couples, they don't show any expression. So even by mistake, if suppose a husband tells the wife, darling, I love you. What is wrong? What happened? What did you do wrong? You understand? Straight away she'll say that there's something wrong he's done for him to say that. He's in trouble. So you better keep quiet. Don't give emotion. Unnecessarily get into trouble. So that is yajna of inner strength. So when you regulate it, then you develop that inner strength. So in pranayama, you develop the physical strength, the inner strength. Whereas with knowledge and emotions, you develop the subtle strength. So in 11th yajna, yajna of inner strength, you're offering, what are you offering? You're offering the restraint of prana and apana, output and intake. You're restraining that. And what you're kindling? Inner strength. You see that on the slide, number 10 and 11 for this verse. Yajna of intake and output. Offering prana, kindling apana, or offering apana, kindling prana. Output, intake, output, intake. Then 11th is yajna of inner strength. Offering the restraint of prana and apana. You're regulating it. And if you do that, you're kindling your inner strength. And now that you've developed this inner strength, the last yajna, what they're going to say is you use this inner strength for external actions. So once you develop that inner strength, you can use it for any of your actions. So that's what he concludes the 12th yajna in verse 30.
अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः अपरे.
Others with regulated food offer pranas into pranas, life breaths into life breaths. That's the 12th yajna, the first line. And then he concludes, all these are knowers of sacrifice, and by sacrifice have destroyed their sins. All these means all these 12 types of people he studied so fast, they are knowers of sacrifice. They know what giving is. And by giving have destroyed their vasanas. Sins means vasanas. They are living a life of giving. So the 12th yajna, we are calling it as the yajna of external activities. In the 11th yajna, you gain that inner strength. Now in this 12th yajna, you're offering that inner strength. You offer that inner strength and you're kindling external actions. See, if you don't have that inner strength, you can't act. You need the strength to be able to go and act. So you're offering your inner strength to kindle external actions. There's a couple from Czech Republic, both of them extremely fit. A guy, he participates in the Ironman triathlon challenge. And his wife, she also does something equivalent to that. Extraordinarily fit. So they train and train and train. So when they train and train, they develop that inner strength. And that inner strength, then they use it to go to these competitions, external actions. Similarly, you gain self-control, develop inner strength, you use it for your spiritual evolution. You gain knowledge, you educate others. You understand? That's what he means. So you offer that inner strength to perform external actions. See that 12th yajna, yajna of external activities, offering inner strength, kindling external activities. All these are yajna vida. Yajna vida means knowers of sacrifice, knowers of yajna. They have understood giving is better than taking. What is knower of sacrifice? Knower of sacrifice means they have understood it's better to live a life of giving rather than taking. So by sacrifice, they have destroyed the sins. It's one of the finest portions, this portion, 12 yajnas you studied. But some of you must be thinking, I'm glad it's over. You understand? Yeah? I won't be torturing you anymore with this 12 yajnas. But it's fascinating, if you understand the spirit of it. But you need to go through it a few times. Now that you've made notes, go back and study it. Go through it right from the beginning. The first yajna, second yajna, like that, build it up, build it up. Any doubts you have, you bring it up. But once you get it all together, you see it is a magnificent exposition of analysis on what giving is. So you can convert all your actions to giving. That's all this thing. You don't need to do one ritual for that. Convert your life into form of giving. Is that clear? Any doubts? You can even ask in the next class. You can study from this whole week. You can go through all the 12 yajnas. And if there's any doubts, you can even bring it up the next week as well. But that introverted study is what will help. So first thing in the morning, study the Bhagavad Gita, study Vedanta. And believe me, that will help you enormously. Any problem you have, you can solve it once you develop an intellect. And for you to develop the intellect, you've got to make that effort. I can't develop your intellect. Unfortunately, nobody else can develop your intellect. Only you can develop your intellect. Utsha.
Yes, Bhaskarji. Bhaskarji, why is Yajna 1 and 2 in the middle of that circle that you showed us on the slide?
Because it's not connected to receipt, reaction, and response. So all the circles follow receipt, reaction, and response. Whereas the limited ideal and absolute ideal, number 1 and 2, are not linked to receipt, reaction, response. So any action you do can be for limited ideal or absolute ideal. Anything you're receiving, anything you're reacting, anything you're responding can be done for two purposes. One is for some goals in the world or for the spiritual goal. So that's common to everything else. That's why it's in the middle.
Thank you. I understand. Thank you.
So this is good. See, questions like this you need to come up with, because then I know that you're studying it, you're observing it. So this is how you need to get the concepts right and make sure you've understood the basics.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Yes. The
Sorry, the social conscience, Bhaskarji,
yes.
how do we put it into action? I know you identify the needs, universal identification. How would I action it?
ઉપર જઈને કપડા વપડા બદલી આવું બોટમ જોઈ આવું પછી કરવું.
So you action it. See what is actioning difficult, Vijay? All that we are saying is you expand your understanding of what giving is. See, usually what happens is people give just with an emotion, and that's it. And they feel good about it. They just offload that emotion. They feel good about it. With social consciousness, you don't do that. Instead, you think, what is the way I would like to dedicate my actions? What is the best area I would like to give in? You think about it, see the consequences of it, and do it. So it is driven by the intellectual thinking and rational understanding rather than just a bout of emotion.
Oh.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
See, in other words, what is the root cause of it? See, okay, children, they are suffering, okay, in the world. What is the root cause? Why are children suffering? Parents are not taking care of them. Why are parents not taking care of them? See, you've got to go and examine that. You've got to investigate that. That is social consciousness. So you see, children are suffering, I'll go and help them. But how many children can you help? 5 children? 10 children? What about millions? So when you expand your understanding, go to the root cause of it, you will end up helping many more people. Or you form a group of like-minded people, you can help many more like that. But nobody has that patience. No, I feel this, I give, you finish it. But what's the impact of your thing? How many people are you helping? Very little. So first of all, you need to think. You first understand what social consciousness is. And then you will know exactly what you need to do. I don't need to teach you what you need to do, but I'm explaining to you so you need to understand what social consciousness.
Yeah.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Vipin here.
Vipin, yes, I know. I've not seen you for a long time.
No, I was keeping the videos
Oh,
closed. That's the reason.
okay.
Okay.
Because you're distracted by other things. That's why you kept it.
Yeah. My request is that if you can put the last slide again, then I can look at it and take the picture of it.
Picture you want to take. Last slide means a verse. That one. Or the 12, the offering and kindling.
Yes, please.
This one. Yes, there.
Thank you. My question is what you mentioned
Ah.
about giving the inner yourself, inner strength. If we do that, how do we know that the opposite person has received and probably would understand what we are trying to do?
Other person may not understand. See, it's nothing to do with the other person understanding, but you understand the benefit of it, how you're going to benefit. Other person may not understand how you are helping. You don't need to worry about whether they are understanding or not. You do it to see how you can help them. They may not even recognize your giving. You don't care about that, but you want to make sure that they're helped.
Because what you mentioned in the initial stages, that when you give physically or otherwise, it's very important to think about the consequences of giving first, and then you can consider what you want to do and why you want to do it.
That's what I meant. That's what the effect of giving. Consequences
Yes.
means the effect. So it should have a positive effect on the other person. It should help the other person grow. in a better way. That's what your thought is. So sometimes not giving may help the person to grow. You understand? See, but if you give too much, then the fellow becomes lazy. So you stop giving. The fellow has to put in effort. It makes the person grow. So there are different ways to make people grow. You've got to find out what is the right way to do it.
I think what you mentioned about giving too much to the your own children may reflect quite. In some cases, it may help, but in other cases, it may not help because they make them lazy and they will not realize the value of it.
That's what I'm saying. So you've got to study your children. You have to study your circumstances. So many factors you've got to
Yeah,
take into account.
yeah. Thank you, Bhaskarji. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sandhya, any announcement?